The Cleveland Cavaliers take down the Detroit Pistons in Game 7, and they are headed to the Eastern Conference Finals, their first since the LeBron James era. Now, the Detroit Pistons, after winning 60-plus games this year, play another Game 7 and come up short this time. They have a lot of questions about the roster. How are they going to build around Cade Cunningham in the future? There's a lot of stuff we got to get into. We got to talk about the upcoming games and what happened tonight. Y'all know what time it is. This is Locked On NBA Game Night.
When that final buzzer rings, you know it's time for Locked On NBA Game Night. All the post-game reactions to every game across the league, every single night, with insights only the hosts at Locked On can provide. It's the true NBA fans' one stop for all the action. Every game, every night. It's Locked On NBA Game Night. Tipping off now.
Congratulations to the Cleveland Cavaliers. You are headed to the Eastern Conference Finals as the Cleveland Cavaliers take down the Detroit Pistons. I think in a game that a lot of people expected a better fight. Now, as everybody knows, when you get into Game 7s, you literally never know what will happen. You can have spectacular blowout games. Everybody remembers in 2022, Luka Doncic versus the Phoenix Suns, where the Mavericks just go crazy and blow out the Phoenix Suns in Phoenix. We remember, obviously, even just with Denver versus Minnesota, Denver's up 20, and they give up a 20-point lead in the third quarter to lose at home. So you just never know what's going to happen. But look, the Detroit Pistons, they have fought very hard in this playoff run. They obviously went to a Game 7 with the Orlando Magic. They had an opportunity to get another win in this game. Obviously, in the last series, we saw the Cleveland Cavaliers and Toronto Raptors play it down to the wires. Both of these teams had experience, but today, really, the star of the show was the Cleveland Cavaliers. They all showed up and just absolutely took it to the Detroit Pistons. Jared Allen was phenomenal today. Donovan Mitchell was very good today. Now, the box score doesn't say it all for James Harden, but James Harden was also very instrumental and did a lot of big things. And Evan Mobley, my goodness, 21 points, 12 rebounds, and 6 assists with 2 steals and 2 blocks. The big four for the Cleveland Cavaliers, they all stepped up and showed up. And we're going to hear more about why tonight was so special from Danny Cunningham of Locked On Cavs.
Danny Cunningham here at Little Caesars Arena in Detroit after the Cleveland Cavaliers absolutely demolished the Pistons 125-94 in Game 7 to advance to the Eastern Conference Finals. Let's talk about this one for 94 feet. Donovan Mitchell came out and set a tone in this game. Now, it wasn't with his scoring, which is the way that we know Donovan Mitchell to be. It was with his playmaking. He had 3 assists on Cleveland's first 4 made baskets, and that was already more than he's averaging per game in the playoffs so far in terms of playmaking. He finished with 8 assists on the night. Did have 26 points and 7 rebounds as well. It was a full, complete effort from him. But the Cavs needed their star to be the best player on the floor in this game. And their star was absolutely the best player on the floor in this game. Jared Allen was excellent, just living up to the Game 7 Jared Allen reputation that he apparently has now after how good he was against Toronto a few weeks ago. Evan Mobley was really good. Sam Merrill off the bench had some huge shots from beyond the arc. And ultimately, the Cavs did enough as a group to move on to the Eastern Conference Finals for the first time since 2018 and the first time without LeBron James on the roster since 1992. Game 1 in New York, Tuesday night. I'll talk to you then.
What a cool stat. And if you're a Cleveland Cavalier fan, first off, I think many people and many, I would say general NBA fans are very happy for Cleveland because, Cleveland, they rebuilt their team. Obviously, you had the heyday of LeBron where, there's the mix of the 8 straight finals, obviously 4 straight with the Cleveland Cavaliers. There's the finals appearance in 2007. And you had all of this playoff success that was really owed to one man individually and then building a really good unit around him. But this iteration of the Cleveland Cavaliers, it was going to be built with a 2-tower system with Jared Allen and Evan Mobley, Donovan Mitchell obviously being acquired from the Utah Jazz, and some up and down playoff performances, but even in this series, and then obviously you move off a beloved Darius Garland and you get James Harden on this team. And I will say this, the biggest difference I think in this series between James Harden and Darius Garland, that Darius was a very good scorer, but obviously his health got to him last year. He was unable to finish the season healthy, went into the playoffs hurt, but also with his size, there were always defensive issues that you would have with him that simply could not be made up for just because he is about 6'1". But with James Harden, even though he's not an incredible defender, what he does do is he allows for you to be able to switch 1 through 4 at times. And that way he can be sturdy in the post and he can at least be a bigger body that's not getting absolutely torched constantly. Now, he had some really bad games in this playoff run. Obviously, he had this bad start to the series as well. But I think tonight he deserves credit for being willing to be a part of a greater system. Look, Donovan Mitchell has had, I think, a very up and down playoff. I think people can kind of acknowledge that. In this series in particular, he had some really high moments, 45-point game, but then obviously he had some really low points as well. But look, in the totality of these playoffs, Donovan Mitchell was at 25.6 points, 5 rebounds. Now, obviously, a big talking point for D. Mitch has been the assist. He's only averaging 3.3 assists in total, including today. 3.3 assists. So obviously that's not great. And especially if a player is turning the ball over twice a game, you would want more production from him. But I think today he did a really good job of being activated as a playmaker and as a passer. I think he did a lot of really good things for the team today as well. And I think he obviously was the primary engine behind why they were able to take care of business the way they did today. And they were plus 17 with him on the floor, which is they had 131.7 net rating today, 100 defensive rating as well. They had a 60 true shooting when he was on the floor. Again, this was a really, really good game and a really in control game for him as well. But, Evan Mobley, there's been a lot of consternation about Evan Mobley because he obviously lacks some of the physical abilities that you would want in a 4. He's playing versus players like Scotty Barnes, and you can see there's a clear size and strength difference. And in this series, the question was going to become, how does he deal with Jalen Duren and Tobias Harris and Isaiah Stewart, and then obviously B-Ball Paul also coming off the bench. And I want to say Evan Mobley, he held up very well, man. I got to give him a lot of credit for this. In this series, man, he averaged 16.7 rebounds, also 5 assists a game. He also shot 62.5% from 2 in this series. I think that's a big indicator, especially when you're playing versus a defense this good and you're able to score in the interior this well. That mattered a lot. He also averaged 2.7 blocks a game in the 7-game series. 2.7 with 1.6 steals, y'all. That is incredible. To average 4.3 stocks a game in this kind of game and in these kind of games in a playoff setting, that was phenomenal. A 58% effective field goal percentage, which is a combination of your 2s and your 3s. I thought that Evan Mobley, in all things considered, full series was great. And he made a lot of really, really big plays tonight, especially as well. I just think that he was able just to stay in control and obviously had some really good possessions in this game. He looked really good, man. Shout out to Evan Mobley. 21 points, 12 rebounds, 6 assists, 2 steals, and 2 blocks is a massive game and a massive game 7 with all of the marbles on the line as well. But look, both of them, it was not just Evan, but it was also Jared Allen, y'all. Jared Allen. And, the game in the third quarter, it was already kind of out of wax, but you could feel Detroit was pressing. The crowd was trying to get them back in the game. Jared Allen went on his own little run in the third quarter where he started making play after play after play after play. And he had a series where he got an offensive rebound and he ended up going back to the free throw line on a foul because he got, I think it was Isaiah Stewart fouled him. He went to the free throw line, missed the free throw, got the offensive rebound, put it back up twice, went back to the free throw line, and he had a dunk. Like, he just made play after play, and he was playing very aggressive today as well. I thought that Jared Allen was really good in this game. I loved how physical he was. I love how constant he was on the board. And I think, again, Jared Allen and when Evan Mobley, when they're both playing like this and playing this well, and you get a combined 44 points and 17 rebounds, or rather 19 rebounds from your front court, it makes a world of a difference because now you're taking so much pressure off of Donovan Mitchell and James Harden and everybody else on the roster. So this was truly a great game for the bigs. But Sam Merrill, y'all, plus 22 with 23 points, 5 made threes. And again, if you look at the win-loss record with Sam Merrill this year with the Cleveland Cavaliers, it is a significant difference. With them, they are in a like a really good basketball team, a very good team. But when he doesn't play, they're basically a 500 team. And a lot of this is because he does so many things, especially off the ball, for Donovan Mitchell and James Harden and Evan Mobley and Jared Allen, that he just allows for them to have more space offensively as well. So just a great performance from him. On the other side, I want to give us some more stuff about Cleveland, maybe even talk a little bit about what to expect in this next series with them versus the New York Knicks. But then also, y'all, we got to talk about the Detroit Pistons, because I think as good as this season was, there are clearly things that need to be addressed with this team, and we got all that to talk about. Y'all know what time it is. This is Locked On NBA Game Night. See you in a minute. If you got a sweet tooth like I do, you know how tough it is to find that perfect treat without all the sugar. That's why the Confetti Craze 5-Hour Energy Shot brings that nostalgic flavor back in a whole new way. This is that classic taste you remember, but with a tasty caffeine boost and zero sugar, it's a quick, easy way to satisfy that sweet craving while keeping things simple and on the go. Now, I've always loved birthday cake, y'all. I love yellow cake chocolate icing. That's like my favorite. But I like a lot of things too, like when it comes to cake. Confetti Craze 5-Hour Energy Shot tastes just like birthday cake, vanilla and buttery. Flavors to let you be unapologetically extra and unstoppably energized. So the Funfetti flavor is back on 5hourenergy.com or Amazon. Crack open Confetti Craze 5-Hour Energy Shot today. Workplace chaos, deadline stacking up, inbox overflowing, and the one position you have to fill still sitting open. When the pressure's on and you need the right hire, this is the job for Sponsor Job. Indeed, Sponsor Jobs help you reach the people who actually fit what you're looking for. Skills, experience, location, so you're not just hoping the right candidate stumbles across your post. And here's a stat that says it all. In the minute I've been talking to you, companies like yours made 27 hires on Indeed, according to Indeed data worldwide. So if you're hiring, spend less time searching and more time interviewing candidates who check all your boxes with Indeed Sponsor Jobs. Spend less time searching and more time actually interviewing candidates who check all your boxes. Less stress, less time, more results. When you need the right person to cut through the chaos, this is a job for Indeed Sponsor Jobs. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to help get your job the premium status it deserves at Indeed.com/podcast. Just go to Indeed.com/podcast right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire. This is a job for Indeed Sponsor Jobs. We'll be back for the second segment here at Locked On NBA Game Night. We are back for the second segment here at Locked On NBA Game Night. Shout out to you all. Thank y'all so much for listening to us each and every day. Make sure, if you're watching this, listening to this, give us a 5-star review on Apple iTunes and Spotify. That way more people can listen to the great content being made here at Locked On NBA Game Night. Also, if you're watching this on YouTube, please give us a like, share, and subscribe as we continue to build up this community as well, y'all. So the Cleveland Cavaliers, they are moving on, and they are getting ready to face a very, very, very good New York Knicks team, and this is going to be a very, very, very good series, I believe. These teams, they are obviously built very differently. They have had a lot of interesting matchups over the last few years. This is going to be really fun to see how Jalen Brunson tries to solve that Twin Towers when he gets inside of the paint. You know, Karl Anthony Towns obviously has been phenomenal so far this playoff. OG Anunoby is going to be the story of the series. Depending on what is going to happen with his hamstring, he might be out at the start of the series. He also could be available as well. They're not going to have to worry about playing until Tuesday, so maybe that extended time period will allow him to be ready to go. But the Knicks are also, you know, they've been off for a little bit of some time now. You know, they obviously got done with their series in 4, so they've been able just to kind of sit and relax and wait for this series to get done. They haven't played since May 10th. So by the time we're able to get to game 1, it's going to be essentially 10 days since they last played a game. So they're going to be sitting there healthy and rested and hoping that they're going to be able to catch a little bit of a tired Cleveland Cavaliers team. Now, and if I had to make a little bet, this is going to be either, like, I think a very, very highly contested game, or could potentially be a blowout for the New York Knicks. Because, you know, when you come off of a win like this in a series, especially that's been this grueling, you know, it could be a letdown opportunity, obviously, for Cleveland, knowing, hey, we just got to get one in New York. And one of these games, obviously, it might get a little bit away just because of some of the rest factor in that. But it doesn't mean it needs to happen. But obviously, I think Kenny Atkinson is going to do his best to get his team ready for that. And Donovan Mitchell obviously haven't played in, a lot of different series against a lot of different teams, man. This is going to be great. I think that the New York Knicks and Cleveland Cavaliers is going to be the best series we've had so far in the Eastern Conference, and I cannot wait for that. Let us know what you think in the comment section. What are your predictions as we get ready for that between the Cavaliers and the Knicks in the conference finals, y'all? Now, on the other side, y'all, we got to talk about Detroit because I think there's a lot to take away from this game. There's a lot to take away from this series. But before I get into it, let's hear from our brother Koo from Locked On Pistons.
That's how I'm walking out this arena for this season. The Pistons lose Game 7. They get absolutely routed. They look like they just completely ran out of gas. Cade Cunningham, I think, scored just 1 point in the second half. He didn't have it really this entire game. He looked like his gas tank was completely on E. And so did the rest of this basketball team. It just didn't look like they had enough in them. Once the game started to snowball, it was just over with at that point. Not much to talk about from the game. It was bad. So instead of talking about the game, talk about something more important. This is a good season, a really good season for the Detroit Pistons. 60 wins, first time in nearly 20 years. First playoff series win in nearly 20 years. Saw jumps from a lot of guys. A lot of things to be happy about. It's going to be hard to talk about that and realize that now. But they had a great season. And the only other thing that matters is this. In this fourth quarter, it basically turned into a complete full Cavs home game. This Pistons fans, rightfully so, left early. This will either be, there's two options that this could go. This will either be something that they use and always remember and as fuel to take the next step in their progression to get eventually to the conference finals and eventually to the NBA finals, and this fuels them, or this will be a reminder of the one chance that they had to get to the Eastern Conference Finals. Maybe they don't ever get to this chance again. A blown opportunity. They get to decide which way that goes. We'll have to find out next season.
Yeah, first off, I want to give Koo a lot of props. He's been incredible this year, and I know Pistons fans are obviously very happy to have him. He has done an incredible job covering that team. Obviously, he loves that team as well. Now, I will say this, Detroit Pistons fans, every year is a different story in the league. You legitimately have no idea what's going to happen. And so, the Indiana Patriots, obviously, a lot of people didn't think that they were going to be a borderline playoff team last year. And then obviously they make an incredible run to the NBA Finals, beating fierce competition in the Eastern Conference as well and going to Game 7. Obviously, Hallie gets hurt. But then the very next year, they're literally like having the fifth best odds in the lottery. And then so they're just in a situation where I think a lot of people are just like, you don't know exactly what's going to happen. And year in, year out, basketball, the seasons, the team, they change. I think that the Detroit Pistons were spectacular this season. I thought Cade Cunningham earned his due this playoff run. Today wasn't great. They was not great, Pistons fans, and we know that. But I do think that it needs to be held into full perspective here. Cade Cunningham in this playoffs, 28 points a game, 7.5 assists, 5 rebounds. And he did this shooting 45% from 2 and 40% from 3 with a 57 true shooting and a 50% effective field goal percentage, which again measures your 2s and your 3s. And then on top of that, y'all, he averaged 1 steal a game and a half a block, and his defense was legitimately very good, and he shot 86% from the free throw line. So Cade struggled with the turnovers because 5.6 turnovers a game and 7.5 assists. That obviously is something that needs to be figured out in the long term. I think that Cade will make some significant improvements as a player overall. But if I'm a Pistons fan, I know at the end of the day that the question that you want to be asked about your franchise guy and the thing you want to know going forward is, do I have a guy? Do I have somebody that in the time of the year that matters the most has the ability, has the skill set, has the want to, has the heart, and has the drive to do the job and be the man and to take the necessary responsibility to be QB1 on a roster and to be a superstar? Cade Cunningham, in every way, shape, and form, he did that in this playoff run. Cade solidified himself. I think he obviously continued to let everybody know, not only should I be first team All-NBA this year, possibly, I could absolutely be in that conversation next year. He finished top 5 in MVP voting. This was a career season from Cade. So I understand the disappointment because a lot of Detroit Pistons fans, you're hoping that this is going to be the year you're going back to the NBA Final. Because, hey, we're the number 1 overall seed. But, y'all, Cade was incredible, man. And I love the fact that he was able to elevate his play in the playoffs. And he has some really, truly great performances. Truly great performances this playoff as well. Obviously, with the 45-point game he had versus the Magic, which was just like obscene and incredible. He had a 39-point game in this series versus the Cleveland Cavaliers. They just didn't have enough to really get the job done, and obviously they struggle with some stuff down the stretch. But I think Cade, obviously, he has been one of the heroes of the playoffs. But we'll talk about some more stuff with Detroit on the other side, because I do have some concerns for the roster build the same way a lot of Pistons fans do. But I do think there are some outlets that they have, but they're going to have to be very shrewd about that this offseason. We'll talk about all that and more here at Locked On NBA Game Night. There's nothing like playoff basketball live. The intensity, the crowd, the rivalries. It's a completely different experience when you're in the building. The NBA playoffs are where unforgettable moments happen, and being there in person just hits different. Gametime makes it incredibly easy to find tickets, even for those hard-to-get playoff games, in just a few taps. And with Gametime Guarantee, you know you're getting 100% authentic tickets on time at the best price. So Gametime makes it easier in just a few minutes, because literally, y'all, you can find great seats on Gametime. All you got to do is go to your Gametime app, look in your favorite game that you want to go to. Hey, if you're looking to go to the New York Knicks game and you're playing versus the Cleveland Cavaliers in game 1, you can find zone deals on Gametime that allows for you to pick the section. Gametime picks the seat, and you still get a great deal. I've recently found some concert tickets on Gametime. I stand by it. It is an absolutely great app that I love. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOC KEDON for $20 off. Download the Gametime app today. The playoffs are here, and it is the most electric time in basketball. On KALSHI, you can trade every single playoff game, every series, the conference finals, and the championship. Now, literally, y'all, you can go look up right now San Antonio versus OKC. Now, again, 66% of the money is on the OKC Thunder, and the payout is $148. I'm telling y'all, that series is going to be the NBA Finals, I think. On KALSHI, you're trading against peers in a live market, meaning there's no house, and as the probability changes, you can buy in and out of your position. For a limited time, download the KALSHI app and use code LOCKEDON to get $10 when you trade 10. KALSHI, KALSHI. Trade on anything. You got to be 18 or older to play. Restrictions and eligibility requirements apply. Event contract trading involves risk and may not be suitable for all investors. Prices, values, and available markets may differ from those mentioned. For more information, see kalshi.com/regulatory. We'll be back for the final segment here at Locked On NBA Game Night. And we are back for the final segment of Locked On NBA Game Night. Shout out to you all. Thank y'all so much for joining us each and every day, y'all. So let's get to the Detroit Pistons. What should the Detroit Pistons be doing this offseason? Well, I got to tell you, first and foremost, one of the things that needs to change is it cannot be, and I mean cannot be, Cade Cunningham or bust this offseason. It would be an absolute detriment. A detriment to the team that if Cade Cunningham comes back next year and this team comes back next year and they have not figured out a way to solve the issues they're having, because where things are and where things stand right now, they're going to be in position to be very good next year. But Jalen Duren is a restricted free agent. Tobias Harris, who was good in parts in his playoff, was terrible today. He's unrestricted. They do have his bird rights. Javonte Green is unrestricted. Wendell Moore unrestricted. Dennis Jenkins has a team option for $4 million. And Kevin Huerter, it's an unrestricted free agent. They do have his bird rights. So they have a lot of people that are available that they can add into the roster if they want. Now they added, and this is from Bobby Marks, they added Duncan Robinson and Karis LeVert to replace Tim Hardaway Jr. and Malik Beasley and Dennis Schroeder over the summer. But I think some of this is obviously the first question on the board is going to be, what are they going to do with Asar Thompson and with Jalen Duren? Now, the good news is they've hit on both of those draft picks. Those are both huge players that were added to the franchise. They're both franchise cornerstones. But what are they going to do? Because the situation we're looking at right now is, I believe Asar Thompson is going to be eligible for a 5-year, $287 million extension. I want to say it's going to be what the deal is going to be ranging from and looking like. So, y'all, if that's the case, like, because the thing is, if he gets this, he's going to get the nod for the DPOY and for the extra stuff. And so some of this is just going to be like, what are they going to end up doing with that contract? Like, are they going to max him out with a rookie scale max with the incentive that are adding on the top of that? Or on the other end, or what are they going to do with some of the money on the other side? And again, I don't know what that exact number is. Don't quote me, because I remember I was looking at Amin Thompson. It'll be a little different. But Jalen Duren, that is obviously the big story. Jalen Duren, he is going to make an all-NBA team this year. All-NBA team this year. Jalen Duren is going to be eligible for a max contract. So a rookie scale max contract is going to essentially be just underneath $300 million. If he's named to an all-NBA team, he's going to be eligible for about $300 million. Right now, he's already eligible for a 5-year max that's around $240. Now, here's the thing. I am not going to dunk on Jalen Duren because there's been enough of that. There's a lot of people talking about Jalen Duren right now. He knows that he needs to get better. He knows that he underperformed this playoff run. The team knows he underperformed this playoff run, and the team knows that he still has a lot of deficiencies he needs to work on. In the regular season, he averaged 19.5 points, 10.5 rebounds. He was a good defensive player. He was a really good anchor. He was a great finisher as well. They were 50 and 20 when he played, and he had a plus 6.9 net rating. Like, that's a really good player. That's an all-star, all-NBA caliber player. This playoff run, though, they were better when he was not on the floor. He played 422 minutes. He was a -6 in those minutes. In the minutes he didn't play, they were a plus 29 in this playoff run. Now, small sample size, but that's, I think, a part of the story for Jalen Duren. 10 points a game in the playoffs, y'all. 8.5 rebounds. So it's not like his scoring fell off, and then he was still like a really good defensive player / rebounder. Y'all, in the playoff this year, they had a 116 defensive rating when he was on the floor. The defense was 16 points better, basically, when he sat this playoff. And you could tell that when B-Ball Paul was playing in this series, like, one of the reasons that his minutes were so much more effective was it was the offensive touch and the confidence, but it was also just defensively. They just looked a lot different. They were faster. They were able to switch more. And even like the rebounding, because of how springy he is, I thought was a little bit better as well. But the biggest thing with Duren is he is just not super skilled yet. And when you're not an overly skilled player and you have a lot of deficiencies and you don't have something that you can go to in order to be like, tier 1, number 2 option next to Cade Cunningham or something like that, like, you're going to have to make really good decisions with your roster, and you're going to have to be able to say, hey, Jalen Duren, you were really good, but $50 million, that's probably a little pricey for where we are right now. Now, you can take a shorter form deal if you want, and that way you can get the money that you deserve and get, $150 million up front or something like that. I don't know what the number's going to be. And then say, hey, I'm going to try to re-up again on the other side of that. But they got the same question also to be asked about Asar Thompson, because Asar, again, as incredible as he is, he's obviously a very good player, like a very good player. But defensively, he is legitimately like crazy. Now, I want to say he is going to be like worth around essentially like, $40 million a year. I think it's going to be about the money that he's looking at. But again, you're going to be making a lot of decisions. If Cade Cunningham is making the money that he's making, and he deserves all of it, and then you got Jalen Duren, then you got Asar, you have to be very conscious in this CBA with the first apron and the second apron, and not even just including the luxury tax. You have to know that when you're in a repeater, that your fines will accumulate. And then on the other that, when you get in an apron, you have these fees that you're adding on top to your luxury tax. So basically you have these accelerators that you're paying in an additional times amount of money per dollar that you're over in the apron, 1 or 2. So there's so many things, and it makes it so difficult for organizations to build competently. Now, obviously, the OKC Thunder are the best example of that, navigating big contracts, Dub, Chet, SGA, but then having a lot of smaller contracts like AJ Mitchell on the roster, and then in between with Isaiah Hartenstein and Alex Caruso and Lou Dort. So maybe they can figure out a way to do that. And if they can keep these prices lower, if Jalen Duren walked away from this playoffs and he's like, you know what, I'm not there yet, but hey, $40 million a year, I think that's about what the Pistons should be comfortable with. And I think he should be comfortable with that as well, given where he is in his career, because you can always get more on the other side. I think Asar Thompson, for instance, Julius Randle's making $33 million a year. Alperen Sengun's making $33 million a year. Jalen Screen's making $33 million a year. He's better in terms of defensive value, but like in terms of value to a team, where does he rank in that? Like, you got to figure those things out as well, where his money's going to slot. So the Pistons, they absolutely need more ball handling next to Cade Cunningham. They need another scorer next to Cade Cunningham that can get to it, because obviously Tobias Harris was good at times, but he's not good enough to do it consistently. And you saw that throughout the playoffs. Because if it's not going to be Jalen Duren, you need somebody else to do it, which has to go into how you're talking about Jalen Duren and money. But on the other side of this too, you just continue to need to improve your shooting, but you got to have players that can not just be really good defensive player and really good offensive shooter next to Cade. You need players that can do both of those things. Now, again, what I'm talking about, these are premium positions, like combo guards who can pass, dribble, shoot, and defend. Those players are very few and far between, and they cost a lot of money. Wings that can dribble, guard, shoot, defend, those players make a lot of money. Hey, Peyton Watson, Denver Nuggets, they're a sign and trade you're looking at. I mean, those are the things that I'd be looking for if I was Detroit, because we need players with offensive upside that do not compromise our defensive infrastructure either. But y'all, congratulations to the Cleveland Cavaliers. Congratulations to the Detroit Pistons on the season. We got the Eastern Conference Final set, Knicks versus Cavs, and then we have the Spurs versus the OKC Thunder in the Western Conference Finals, and we will be getting to the NBA Finals in like 2 weeks. Y'all know what time it is, y'all. This is Swiper. This is Locked On NBA Game Night. Hey, love y'all. See y'all on the other side.